Hey everyone, I'm Aaron Tillery and you're watching Aaron Limitless. I just wanted to say hi to you guys. This is going to be my first official video and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. This is going to be kind of like a story time biography about my life or a quick overview of my life. I'm going to try to remember. So actually it's a funny story. So this camera, I have a shotgun mic on it, and so I recorded this whole thing. I didn't have the audio levels, or I wasn't paying attention to them because I've used it a couple times to test. Well, apparently there are two different cords. I didn't realize it because they both look the same, but the one had a different tip. I didn't realize this cord that's plugged in now was in the thing. So I recorded the whole video, finished it, went to look it back to make sure the sound sounded okay. Didn't hear anything. Thought maybe it's just a camera setting or the lens, but as soon as I unplugged it, it just wouldn't work, period. So I was like, okay. Then I tried another pack of the microphone lenses, or the microphone packs that you clip onto your collar. That didn't work. So I was like, maybe, okay, once I get in the camera, I couldn't find my dongle for my MacBook Pro. So I found it and I got it connected to my gaming PC. Got the video up, it was working fine, but then I'm like, oh, I gotta get my Bluetooth headphones. So I plugged them in because I ordered new speakers for the computer. I didn't have them. My new ultra-wide monitor doesn't have built-in speakers for whatever reason. So it was playing and I was like, the audio doesn't work. So I literally recorded the whole thing. I looked it up on YouTube, actually, how to fix it. And then the one thing, when he got to step 5, his last step, was that sometimes the cameras or the mic packs will come with 2 cords and people use the wrong cord. Mine had I needed the double-lined audio jack for the 3mm, and I was using the double to triple. So I plugged it in, did a test, and the sound was beautiful. So bear with me, I'm going to try to go back over the story because I filmed for like half an hour, and yeah, so it was kind of annoying that I had to redo it all, but I'm going to try to remember. It's pretty late now. It's like, I don't even remember what time it is now. It's almost 2 a.m. So that's obviously no fun. Friday, December 11th. But yeah, so we're gonna start over. So I'm trying not to I'm trying to get that annoying energy out just so I don't look or sound miserable having to redo it. But yeah, so okay. This is going to be kind of a overview of my life, or quick story. I might do individual stories, down the road if you guys like this video and you want to know more about specific times in my life. But this one I kind of want to do like a quick 25 or so minute video about my life, and then kind of what my point of this channel is going to be for, and all my different activities and interests that I have that I want to do for this channel. So my name's Aaron Tillery. Reginald Aaron Tillery, but I was adopted. They always called me Aaron, always went by Aaron my whole life with everybody. So I grew up kind of all over. Originally born in Syracuse, New York. I was adopted by my parents in Baldwinsville, which is a small town outside of or a village outside of Syracuse, which is in upstate New York. So I'm from there, and so I was actually. My parents were trying to adopt because they were having problems conceiving. My mom was getting miscarriages, so they wanted to adopt. And I was kind of the tail end of orphanages, transferring into doing full foster family. So they actually came to meet me and interact and take me out on kind of play dates and stuff to see if they if we were compatible and liked each other. It went well. I was actually eligible. I think they found out on Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve that I was, the paperwork's official and they can, I'm theirs. They can pick me up whenever they want. They were going to do after the holidays because, that's when they said, well, everything will be ready. Do you want to just wait till after the holidays? Because it's, a big change. And they were like, well, it'd be actually nice to take him home for the holidays. So I actually got adopted the following day, Christmas Eve. So I've always been kind of a big holiday person, because maybe partially to that, but also because my parents, especially my mom, made Christmas a very big holiday, very festive, just lots of activities, and just, it's a pretty time. People are a little bit nicer, and, kind of, you just have a lot of family traditions and memories you get to experience. And then, that's always been kind of in the back of my head with that. So I was adopted at 2.5, 1991 or 2. Christmas Day, my mom wasn't actually feeling well that week. So about like 5 or 6 days after the new year, she went and got tested, and turned out that she was pregnant with my sister Rachel. So she actually 9 months later had 2 kids, when they were trying to get, have one. So I guess it was kind of meant to be. So yeah, another side note is I actually look a lot like my parents, which is ironic because, me being adopted, the fact that, I look a lot like my mom and a lot like my dad, and then I look a lot like Rachel too, is kind of cool. So my dad worked for the government. So growing up, we actually lived in Bolivia for about 2 different times of like 2.5 years and a year and a half over like a 6-year period. We lived in Bolivia, which is like a small landlocked country in South America. It's very beautiful, very poor, unfortunately, and economically depressed, but amazing people from what I remember, and just great culture. I would love to go back to visit one day. It was very nice. My parents did eventually divorce when we were about like 7 and 5 or 4, because my sister's younger. So, they ended up divorcing, and my mom had my sister full time, or, most of the time. And my dad had me most of the time. And then, we'd switch during holidays, or, they would take both of us on this dates or that dates, trips, etc. So, so I moved with my dad to Maryland, because he worked in DC. So, I grew up there for a good 97 to 2001. So like 4.5, 5 years. So I went to school there, and, I had a typical life. I, got to go on a lot of cool, trips and play with friends and, kind of all the general stuff. I was very quiet in school. I wasn't like the most active, one in class. I was always kind of more quiet and shy and reserved. I always just found school kind of boring unless I really liked a specific, course in school. Then I really excelled at it and did really well. But yeah, so anyways, so I'll go into more of a detailed thing in another story, but essentially I got into some trouble when I was younger. So I went to a boarding school and whatever you want to call it, like a residential treatment center kind of school thing, but it was in a beautiful place in Bennington, Vermont, very old town, small area, but just stunning property. Like it was very, very pretty. It was very, it's so Instagrammable and, like photogenic of a place, but I did do 3.5 years there growing up, and I learned a lot about myself. I made a lot of good friends, did a lot of, fun activities, things I don't think I would ever have done in my life. A lot of kind of growing up as a kid. I still obviously saw my, parents and, my mom, my sister, my dad, and, I'd go home for holidays and on vacations and trips and, pretty much almost every month for at least a good 5 days, sometimes longer. Obviously, Christmas was like 2.5 weeks. So actually it was a lot of good growing, kind of found out what I liked in life a little bit more. And I think I just kind of learned more lessons about just the real world, because I think I was kind of growing up a little bit sheltered. So I definitely grew up to learn different, because every family is different. So growing up with all these kids, you learn about just all different kind of people and households and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was actually a good memory. The school is called Bennington School. I don't think there's anything wrong. I'm not going to give any names or anything like that for privacy reasons. It had its downfalls like everything else, but I'm just going to try to keep that in a positive note. My actual best friend, Jesse, which, we're friends with still kind of, I met there and, we've been friends for 17 years, which for me, moving around so much, it was very, kind of, it's a big deal to have like a friend that you've known and been such good friends for that long. So yeah, but, that definitely was a positive that came out of it. And like I said, at that time, it was kind of, the early 2000s, end of the 90s, and just growing up in that era for any of you 90s babies or late 80s babies like myself, it was all about just the cool fads. I know we go through fads every year, but it was really like, between Pokemon and, hit clips and, Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys and Eminem and, Destiny's Child and just all these great, artists were just, emerging. It was like kind of like the big teen pop explosion that happened those years. So it was just, so much like nostalgia and things to look back at. The Sims was coming up and, the PlayStation 2 was getting big. And I just remember those video games were like the big thing. Grand Theft Auto was huge. I was obsessed with The Sims and, Everybody had CD players and Walkmans. We were burning CDs left and right, which was like the cool thing to do, and trade like CDs, kind of like I guess mixtapes back in the day, with friends to see like what songs did you put on this and that. So little things like that. So it was kind of cool to go through that kind of experience and kind of have the kind of growing up quickly or more quick than the average kid. We had a lot more responsibilities. To make sure my room was clean, do laundry. Not things I'm saying that people don't do, but I just think we were more independent than having your parents focus on just one person. You have a couple of staff that to focus on dozen or a couple dozen, depending on the dormitory we were in. So yeah, I did eventually move on from there. I transferred back into New York State to graduate from school, in New York State and get my degree to, get back into like normal life. So I went to Cortland, or a school in Cortland, actually, not Cortland High, but a school in there, another private school. That school is actually still open, so I just won't mention the name or anything for privacy. But I did make some good friends from there. My friend Cody, Dan, and Elliot. Hi. It was kind of friends to this day. Don't really talk all that often, but it's kind of like when we do get a chance to catch up, it's just like it is what it is. It's just like we've been friends all this time, and we haven't like stopped talking. So it's kind of cool to talk to them. When I do get to, and just have those memories growing up, kind of getting into my own self being. I came out when I was in high school, my final year. I was out with Jesse back in Vermont in 2003. I think we came out to each other. But I came out to like my friends and family and stuff like that my last year of high school. It was actually a really good experience, because I want to touch on that, because I know a lot of people didn't have that experience. But for me, I was very, very nervous, just because I was kind of like, I got along with everybody, was friends with everybody, so everybody kind of knew me or about me. So I was really nervous about like having such exposure to everybody that, it was going to be bad. But I really can say I had 99% positive, reception to it from coming out. So I was really lucky with that. My parents, were the most supportive. My sister didn't even think about it. My best friends didn't think anything about it. None of their like other friends and kids in school or teachers or anybody treated me any differently, which was nice, because I know a lot of people don't get that, unfortunately. So yeah, I actually started doing really good in school. I still, would get bored with certain subjects, but because in high school you kind of get to choose what you want to do. And it was more competitive at this school. So, I actually became valedictorian, and it was just so weird, because it was always kind of like, you think like you're bad at school when you're younger, and it's just always going to be like that. And it's crazy to think that like, holy crap, I'm valedictorian. Like, how did that happen? It's just never like, I guess, discount yourself. And, it is kind of cool to just be like, oh, I was valedictorian. Like, how many people get to say that? But it was nerve-wracking having to do the speech and everything, because I didn't realize that's what you would have to do. But looking back, it was definitely one of my favorite moments in my life. Unfortunately, around the time my aunt had passed away the year before, my senior year, and then my mom had gotten sick with pancreatic cancer. She did come back and actually, went into remission, was doing better, but with it being small cell and all that, it spread to her body, and sadly it just progressed and got worse again. They put her on like hospice, and we brought her home, and I was kind of hopeful, because she said she was going to beat it. I remember when I found out, she just seemed to be doing better. I believed she was going to do better, because she's always been healthy and always was a health conscious person. Just my mom was always someone that everybody just absolutely like loved. I know a lot of people say like their parents are great, but it was just even from friends all the time that have great parents, we're always like your mom was definitely special, and all that kind of stuff. So it just really hit home for like a lot of people. And it hit home for me a lot, just because my mom was always like my number one supporter, was always there for me. So I didn't really think I was upset about it. But then when she got into remission, I was like, oh, this is just going to be the same thing again. She's going to get better. So actually the last day of school, or my last weekend out of, being graduated from high school, and the day before me going to school for, to college for orientation and to check in, she wasn't talking for a couple of weeks, because she was just, with medications and pain reliefs and all that stuff. She just, she hadn't talked in weeks or been able to move or anything. And so the last day I was leaving, I was saying goodbye, and she actually did sit up a tiny, tiny bit, and, was telling him like, oh, make sure, give him, some money, like, always being my mom, making sure that everybody else is taken care of. and she like told me like that she was proud of me and she loves me and please come back, visit me, take care of, Rachel, my sister, look out for her. And it was just, probably the one memory in my life that I'll never forget, just because it was like the last thing she ever said to me. That, it was just, and that was pretty much the last time she talked. So I wasn't there when she passed, because the next day, actually, I was in orientation and they called me to the office, and I just kind of knew. And it turned out that she passed overnight at like 3 a.m. So I remember going to the funeral and the service and everything, and them just trying to hold me up. I couldn't handle it. I was probably the most annoying person there at the place. I was just bawling my eyes out, crying. Like I had everybody holding me up. I couldn't even. It's just. It was just the worst thing that's ever happened and probably ever will happen in my life. So yeah, I just remember I went right back to school that same night after the service. I just didn't want to stay home. They said I could, take whatever time I needed. Went back to school, and I don't even remember, like 3 or 4 weeks, I just did nothing. I just was in my room, and I really don't remember a lot of it. Like I have like a fantastic memory, and for that period of time, it just, it was a blur to me. And I remember eventually just being like, I don't want to do school right now. I don't want to do school. I want to do what I want to do. I was over it. So I had a friend that I came out to. She was working at that school, my high school, and was like, oh, you should come to Buffalo. So I decided, it would be kind of close to home, but also kind of like a fresh start for me, like to have my own life, my own first major decision, etc. So I kind of went through that. I did my own just kind of, learn about myself officially in Buffalo for those couple of years. Met a guy. Everything was going okay. I would never admit that it was like a fantastic relationship, but like most things, first relationships are never, I guess, always great. Met a guy who ended up moving to Kentucky, had a good time there, went to Disney as an adult for the first time, and I just had a blast. I always loved going to Florida as a kid for vacations and to visit family. So I was like, let's move to Orlando. So, 5 days after Christmas, we moved to Orlando and, kind of started life there, but it was, our relationship was deteriorating, and he eventually moved back to New York. And then after a while there, just with personal things, I couldn't afford it, and just, money that I got left and all this other stuff is just, I wasn't able to do it anymore. I was very irresponsible at that point. I didn't, I didn't know how to manage money. I didn't save money. I wasn't working. I just kind of was just kind of almost like living my life for the first time, because I was always so structured and doing everything that everybody else wanted me to, always act in a certain way, behave in a certain way, not saying this, not having emotion. I was just always very structured. So now that I got to do whatever I wanted, I exploded. I never got like really bad into like anything like drugs or, anything like that. But, I did get into some, legal issues and troubles, stuff like that. So I moved to Boston with a family member. That worked out for a little bit. I moved with one of my two best friends into the Falls, or not with them, but over by them. And, lived over there for a while, then, kind of went back into Buffalo life. So a couple years went by, kind of more of the same. I started to do Airbnb, which is kind of how my business is now, and realized I liked it. I was getting tired of the roommates. I didn't really like working for other people. I wanted to do something for myself. So, that kind of was for a couple years, and it was, at that point my life felt more stable and in control than it had any of the other times in my life. So it was very, I don't know, it felt weird to be so stable and, settled. Got out of a relationship with another guy. Again, wasn't the best relationship, but he's a good person, and, we're okay at this point. Started dating this other guy, for lack of better words, we'll just call him John Doe for legal reasons. Wasn't a good guy. Seemed like a good guy. Seemed like the perfect guy, amazing job, nice cars, nice home, vacations, dressed well, I thought was attractive, all that kind of the perfect man. Turned out it was a perfect man if you got everything the way you wanted to. Just wasn't, if it didn't go his way, you would pay the piper for it. So one day there was, because for legal stuff, I don't really want to go into too much detail about that. Maybe once I talk to my lawyer and ask him, like, am I allowed to share this kind of information? Because it is technically public record. I'll share more of that story time. Let me know below if you want to hear that story time. I've really never talked about it. I always said I would make a video about it one day just because I like to get my side of the story, because I was dumb and didn't really share my side of the story other than with a couple of friends. But I just always wanted people to know my side, whether or not people believe me or, whatever is whatever, I just wanted to get it out myself. But anyways, so, went through this whole court process. They agreed to drop the charges, and I pled down to like criminal mischief or something like that. And I thought like, okay, this was a good lesson to learn. I'm out of that relationship, whatever. They issued an order of protection, which I guess is pretty standard with any kind of domestic situations. I wasn't aware, when I was getting ready for dismissal, he reached out to me. I wasn't aware with a order of protection, if they reach out to you, you still can't contact or, associate with them whatsoever. I didn't realize that or know that. So, of course, he set me up. He messaged me saying that he was so sorry and that he wanted to apologize, blah, 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 and just he was going to tell the court everything, wanted me to come over to talk. So I went over, we talked, everything was fine. I was like, thank you for apologizing, this and that. Turns out later that he set me up with all that information, and just messaging him back was a violation of the order of protection. So he brought that to court when, I think like 2 weeks down the road, we went to dismissal or whatever it was, where like we kind of wrapped court up and I plead officially, and it's, it's done. So I got arrested like 5 minutes before my case was called, because my lawyer was in there with the DA, setting up and figuring, finishing everything. So I got arrested. They came in, they were like, blah, 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 please stand up. And I was like, for what? And they explained, my lawyer explained to me that, it's still a violation because you still contacted him and violated the order of protection, even though he reached out for you. He kind of set you up. So they explained that, we showed the messages where he contacted me first. He called me. He left voicemails. The DA even agreed, or ADA or whatever, agreed to not pursue anything more. And I guess usually the judge goes off of what the DA or ADA or whatever recommends. But I guess it's still the judge's, in hindsight, I should have realized that. It's still the judge's decision. And she said you went directly against my wishes and my order and still contacted him, blah, blah, blah. So she gave me a full county year, which turned out to be 8 months of good behavior, which is what I did, in county jail in Buffalo. So I went to Alden Correctional Facility, or I don't know if it's called correctional, but the Holden, the jail, but not prison. That was the worst thing in my life. I've never felt so unstimulated, just so worthless, so degraded and embarrassing. It was horrible. Another side note, if you want me to tell you what that was like in jail from, I guess, a different perspective than what a lot of people would go through, let me know. And, I'd definitely be glad to share. Maybe you've gotten into some kind of trouble and you might be having to spend some time. I can give you some suggestions and how it's going to actually be from my perspective, which I think is different than a lot of people, because there wasn't any other gay people in jail from when I was there that I was aware of, or at least openly out. But, let me know if you want me to kind of go into that. Finally got out. I was dating a guy over that 6-month process that all this court stuff went through, because it was a good jump between that Christmas season when we had met and everything till, July, August, when I got arrested, and then when I went to jail in December. So the guy that I was dating no longer wanted to date me after, because I wasn't successful and this and that. And turned out that, he just wanted more of, when you're doing well, he wants that success, to live that style of life and, that comfort and, all that. But when the person goes through it, he didn't want to have to worry about any of that, which, it made me sad, because I thought he was a great guy. But at the same time, in retrospect, looking at it, it's kind of just like, maybe it was meant to be and happen that way. So I was homeless for like a week and a half. I was just too proud to ask for any sort of help. Eventually a friend offered to let me stay with them. Then my best friends, which I stopped talking to because of my ex, John Doe, the one I went to jail for, we kind of reconciled and became friends again with that. So, I do want to actually take that time now to say, Jason and Steven, thank you very much for all that you guys have done for me and helping me. I really do appreciate it. I mean, I know you guys know this, but, I just wanted to say, physically, like, thank you. And, I really do appreciate it. And I, love you guys and appreciate it. So, because I definitely never would have said that out loud to them, but I want them to know, if they see this video, that, I really do greatly appreciate it. So yeah, my life started going uphill from there. I got a job. I met a guy, my ex, Randy. got together, my life was just getting better and better. Started getting another Airbnb, then we got another one and another one and another one. And, now my goal is just to try to get one or two every year and kind of just expand and make my own little mini empire, carve of the earth, my own little corner of the world and, contribution to society. So that was all doing that good. I actually was engaged and all this stuff. Life unfortunately happens though, and me and Randy decided that it wasn't working, and we actually broke up. We're still actually friends, and we're actually a little bit better now, but sadly that had to happen. But then COVID hit, and how everything else goes, we just had to make our own kind of adjustments and just get through life and everything. I can say that I still had a pretty lucky and good life this year, but it was definitely a learning curve, I think, for all of us. That's pretty much kind of just a wrap for the actual story part. If there's any more parts of the story you want to know of, comment down below, let me know. You can comment and let me know on social media and stuff. If you like to play games, I have all my gamer tags. All my stuff will be linked in the end of this video for the outro that you can subscribe to. So a little bit about myself personally. I'm a huge adrenaline junkie, snowboarding, skiing, swimming. I like to bike. I don't do it a lot. I like rollerblades. I like bungee jumping. I've done skydiving, rock climbing. Don't mind hiking. I don't get to do a lot of this stuff, but I'm a huge movie buff. Love disaster and horror films are probably my favorite genre. Twister and Gothica is actually my favorite movies of all time. Love kind of older music, like late 90s, early 2000s, and a lot of like love songs and music. But then I do like some of my just random people. Like I really do like Cardi B right now. I love Eminem, Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys. A lot of one-hit wonders, like just one-hit wonder songs. I'm very weird. I listen to like the same 30 songs all the time. So I like video games. I've been trying to get into video games a lot more. I haven't always been playing them as an adult more, just because I kind of, I guess, have gotten to the point where it's like, I could play this game later, that game later, or I need to play with somebody. So I'm really starting to focus. I've gotten game capture cards, actual game and computer, and just kind of like the nines to try to get this whole thing up and going so you guys can watch my Let's Plays and house building on The Sims, because I love to build on The Sims. So I'm looking forward, if you guys want to see those videos, they'll be in the descriptions and or in my playlist that you can check out. Just a lot of stuff. I love to travel. I love to experience new things. I love stuff with like ancient civilizations, like Egyptian history, which is ironic because I hated history in school. I love everything to do with space. Sorry about that. I think the battery's overheated and I got the warning and didn't read it on mistake. But yeah, I love everything to do with astrology and just space exploration, all that kind of stuff. I love things to do with like aeronautics, with planes, just kind of like how the world works kind of interest. Tons of different things that we'll go into, and you'll learn more as I go on to this journey with doing vlog style, tech unboxings, gaming, travel, kind of current events, story times if you guys want to hear that, maybe story times with friends and family, and as I grow, hopefully with other YouTubers. But that's kind of the goal of what I want this channel to be. I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. I hope this video looks fine and everything. I'm kind of learning the whole thing with lighting and sound and all that kind of stuff. So I just think that's pretty much everything on my list of so that's pretty much it now. I guess if you want to, I would appreciate a subscription. Maybe if you can share this with some people that you think might be interested in it. I would love to hear all your feedback. That's the most important thing for this video, is just any suggestions you can make as a YouTuber, things that you want to hear and talk about that you think would be good for my channel. I'm always open to suggestions and growing and learning. And until then, I will talk to you in a little bit. I have a video coming up with my apartment tour of my new place, actually. So that'll probably be my first official video besides this. And then, there'll be more videos to come. I've been recording content and this and that. So more stuff will come as the new year rolls around. But the first official video, this will hopefully roll up before Christmas. And then the house tour, I'm hoping to do Christmas Eve to have it uploaded. So if you want to see that, make sure you check back. And thank you if you watch this video the whole time to the end. I appreciate it, and thank you for watching Aaron Limitless, and I hope to catch you guys later. Have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Have a great New Year's, and stay safe out there.